just following up from last week's video, I want to speak about being misunderstood as a photographer. And I think it's something that a lot of photographers do experience. Um, like when I'm attempting to photograph people, I'm afraid that people will misunderstand my intentions. And I find it really hard to overcome that. Like in last week's video, there was a person who commented, a man, and he said that he was approached by a woman who was asking if he was taking photos of her kids, which is crazy because if you're going to be like a big pervert, right, and take photographs of children, you're hardly going to be using an actual camera. You'd probably be using one of those Ray-Ban glasses or something like that because you want to be as inconspicuous as possible. And I think that's really unfair on men, first of all, and that they experience that. I personally don't experience it, and I know that that's an advantage of my gender. A lot of women wouldn't really think that of other women. I presume I haven't experienced it. Um, However, I just think it's really strange. We've all been misunderstood in different ways as photographers, but that comment really stuck with me. But I've been thinking a lot about the camera and how it is used really as a symbol and a tool in society. And I think it is an archetype or a symbol that tells the ultimate truth from the person's perspective. And that's why people are so afraid of it, because they're afraid of the truth and what could potentially be revealed about them and their personality, or, their mishaps or whatever is going on with them. iPhones are everywhere, as we discussed. Like, people forget that they are actually surveillance machines. We are watched every time of the day. Our behavior is always watched. Even like right now, I'm filming this on an iPhone. I know that the camera is on. Apple is going to be recording this. I know I'm recording it, but I know Apple is going to be recording this and uploading it to the data centers or whatever. And they do that as well. When you're going to unlock your phone, every time you look at your camera, they are looking at you. It's literally the era of Big Brother. But also when you're out and about in the street, like I said before, is people are filming all the time. They're taking photos all the time. It's impossible to go missing nowadays. If you wanted to go missing, like some people obviously do, but it's very difficult because there is so much surveillance, which is a good thing, absolutely, but not always. And so if people are watched every day, they forget that they are being watched by these iPhones. So when they see a camera, they instantly freeze, Now, most people, I've been very lucky that some people, when they see a camera, and they're like, they instantly pose. I'm like, you're hilarious. Like, love that. Good for you. But there is a lot of people, once they see a camera, they freeze up and they're like, oh shit. It's like they're almost going to be caught in the act of something. And that makes me wonder, and other street photographers will understand what I'm talking about here, is like, caught doing what? Like, you're walking down the street, you're not actually doing anything wrong, like, and we're just taking a photo, that's absolutely fine. But they freeze and they're instantly like, shit. So what are they so afraid of? I think it's because people, they realize that they don't have control of how others actually see them, how they are perceived. And I think people are afraid to be perceived in such a way that may negatively represent them online. So, as well, especially online. So with an iPhone, you are able to take a photo of yourself and you can do whatever you want. You can face tune yourself, you can edit it, and you have control of your visual identity that goes online. Your friends do the same if you're at an event. They or you will have control of how you are viewed online. But when a stranger takes your image, your control goes out the window because you have no idea what they're going to do with that image or how they're actually going to portray you as a person. And that I think is where the fear stems from, because it's a truth teller. If you've got wrinkles, they're going to show up. If you, I don't know, like your photos make you look like you're skinnier, like the photos that you upload make you look like you're skinnier than you actually are, then your truth is being revealed. And that's something that people don't really want to live with. They don't want to see the truth. I have a master's in cyber psychology, and a lot of my work looked at how people present themselves online. And what we found was, well, from research says that people on Instagram want to present the ideal version of themselves, let's say. And then people who are on TikTok, which was my research, present a more like fun, authentic version of themselves, but also like it's their own TV show. So they might exaggerate certain characteristics of their own for presentation purposes. So we have these many different faces that we wear when we go online. Like even right now, while I'm recording myself, I'm myself, absolutely. I am my full self, but maybe I'm showing a side that's a little bit more articulate than I usually am, or I want to say put together, but I'm in a jumper, so maybe not. But I'm showing maybe a different side of myself than you would see me if I was rolling out of bed at 8 o'clock this morning, or whatever that looks like. So it is normal for us to actually showcase different parts of ourselves online, but the photographer, when they takes the image, that completely gets erased. Your self-concept or your presentation of yourself becomes something that you've lost complete control over. And that's what I think really scares people. However, I think the photographer is, like I said, the truth teller, and is not one to misconstrue what they see in front of them, unless they're into Photoshop and stuff. But if we're talking about authentic photography, real photography, the photographers, they want to tell the stories and tell life as it happens in front of them without any kind of intervention, let's say. And the receiver or the model is ultimately afraid of that. And I think that if they are exposed, I feel like if they feel that they are exposed by the truth of the image, it might bring up something in them that makes them feel uncomfortable and how they experience the world and their life. I'm trying to think, like, there's been a couple of times where if someone takes a photo of you and you're like, who the fuck is that? Like, that doesn't look like me. That's not me. That can't be me. And you're kind of a little bit shocked. But then you might see a photo that someone else takes of you and you're like, Jesus, I look great. Like, that's funny, because the truth is always what you believe about yourself. It's not just what the world sees of you, but it is a reflection and a mirror. So in those instances, for example, I was like, who the fuck is that person? I obviously had some kind of cognitive dissonance around who I thought I was at the time. And that maybe brought up some truth within me and exposed some stuff that I had to deal with. Or maybe I saw a photo and I liked it. I was like, okay, I look good in that. Maybe it clarified something for me and increased my confidence or something like that, but exposed then a different kind of truth within myself. So that's what I mean when I think that the photographer is a truth teller, and I think the camera is a symbol or an archetype as a tool that tells the truth. So the camera is somewhat like a mirror as well, where you can't see your own reflection until you get the photo, but the photographer sees it. And in that way, there's a bit of a power imbalance or a struggle with the dynamic, because the photographer ultimately plays God. Because the photographer sees you or sees something in the lens that represents you. But you have no control over that. So it is kind of like playing God. And I think that power dynamic is something that isn't really talked about a lot in photography. That this photographer has complete control over how they are experiencing the world, but how it's being reflected back to you. And then let's say, for example, the person gets the photo. For people to actually see, like I was giving in that example, who they are fully can be a very scary experience for people because maybe they aren't ready to deal with what they see or what is being reflected back to them by the camera. And it's the ones who are afraid of the camera on the street or in our daily lives, they are the ones that are not happy with their presence or with how they look or with their life or something else that's going on. They do not want to be recorded. They do not want to be documented. They do not want to be seen. And that is really telling. And like when you're walking in the street and you're taking a photo and this happens, it's so sad because you then see the person who's like, doesn't actually want to be here, not in like a depressed kind of way, but there's something about their lives that they're not happy with, that they don't want to have their image taken. Now I could be completely wrong on that, but it's just my interpretation of how people want to be seen when us photographers are out and about taking photographs. But I think that this is like how the media has trained us over the last few years, to have full control of our image and full control of how we are represented in the world. So, like coming back to the concept of the iPhone, and like having an iPhone is literally like a mirror. For example, I'm using this right now as a mirror to looking at myself while I'm taking this video. And, you know, if I wanted to, I'll edit it to make myself look better, which I won't. I might change some of the colors, but like it is what it is for me. But if I was someone else, I can just manipulate this into how I want to be presented to the world. But because it is a mirror and you can control what looks back at you with the iPhone, it's somewhat true as well within self portraiture. But I think it's a little bit of a different angle there because people that are engaging with self portraiture are the ones who um, would probably have a deeper understanding of like why they're taking their photograph and like what it means from an artistic perspective or a philosophical perspective or what that might look like. And the people that are taking like pure selfies, I don't know if it's for self-discovery. People might have different reasons why they take selfies, but we can guess that it isn't because of a process of self-discovery in art. They're taking selfies because they might like how they look or they want to put it online to be seen in a certain way. And there's no judgment when I say that because I take selfies too. I think we all do. But it is very different when it comes to self-portraiture. And that's a kind of differentiation there. But the people who are engaging in taking selfies and then distributing them among social media and the internet are doing it because they have a desire to share and a desire to be seen in a certain way. But it's because society and the media have told us that's exactly what we have to do. They've encouraged us to do this. They've encouraged us to want to be perceived in a certain way or to want to have control over our image. And I personally think it's psychological warfare to a degree because it's making people go crazy about how they are going to be seen. And if I really think about it, like if people want so much control over how they want to be seen and the media and social media is forcing this upon us, it really makes me wonder where photography is going to go in the next like 10, 15 years because or even sooner. I don't really know. Like cameras will always be there. Like there's always gonna be people that like, you know, working in studios or working as photographers or whatever. But when it comes to street photography, when it comes to documentary photography and documenting life out and about, I think people will become so paranoid about their self concept and how they want to be perceived and how they want to be viewed that the camera will almost become obsolete. People won't want cameras anywhere. And like we are seeing this, and I can't remember what country it was where street photography is actually banned. I can't remember, but maybe I will Google it. Hold on. Okay. North Korea. I think that's obvious. We actually don't need to get into why North Korea is banned. Photography in general and media in general, that's, I think, a different conversation. Saudi Arabia, it says photographing government or military buildings can result in severe penalties. Fine. South Korea, photographing people in public without consent can be considered a criminal offence due to personability rights. And that's really interesting. There's a couple of other countries here. Mumbai, India, photography is banned in certain tourist spots due to safety concerns. Like, it's really interesting, like the direction and the approach photography is actually going in, because people want to have control over their image. And I just think it's fascinating because we're kind of fucked for as photographers. I think we are. We're not going to get back to the authentic photography that we owe, that everyone loves, the classics, the greats. Are we going to be able to replicate that? Are we going to be able to capture the moments that are really, really important to document history if we're going towards this if we're going towards this idea of how we're just going to control our image by us taking our own photos and portraying ourselves how we want to be portrayed, and not allowing anyone else to see us apart from the security cameras and in the background of other people's tourist photographs. It's just something interesting to think about. The people that are putting the selfies online, I think that they are afraid to see their true selves, and that's ultimately the point. And like, there's zero judgment on that. I just think it's an absolute shame. I think it is the people that don't want to be photographed, the people that are afraid. It's like, what the fuck are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? No photographer I know is going to go out with the attention to be like, I'm going to take a really bad photo of that person. Like, I think that person looks shit. I'm going to make fun of them. Like, no photographer does that. Any photographer just takes photographs because we absolutely love it and we have a passion for it. And we see the beauty in the small things in life. And that's why we do it. I also think as the best part about being a photographer, it's not about, like, we can't actually control the image. We can just control exactly what's happening at that moment in time. And being able to document people in a certain time and space. And we don't care if you have wrinkles or you've got, I don't know, like, you're 5 pounds heavier than you usually are, and like you haven't dyed your hair in like 6 weeks, whatever. No one actually cares because we see beauty in you. So if you're a photographer who, like, this is obviously a ramble follow-up video from last week. But if you're a photographer, like, let me know what your thoughts on this about people who are like being seen, or like they want to be seen or not want to be seen through the photographer's lens. But if you're not a photographer and you have had people who have taken your photos and you are not impressed and you're like, I fucking hate photographers, I hate the way they go about, I just want to use my iPhone to take photographs when I'm out, like with my friends or whatever the fuck, like, I'd love to hear your opinion on that too, because I think it's really interesting to get both the perspectives. As photographers, we are in a bubble. Like, I know that we all mean so well. Well, the photographers that I know, I think we all mean so well, and we want to showcase the best in everyone. But not everyone has had that experience with photographers. So I'd love to hear both perspectives. And yeah, that's all I want to say this week. So I'll see you guys later.